Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you very warmly to this first meeting of the All Party Parliamentary Group, First Do No Harm. I want to thank you for joining us, and particularly I want to thank the patient campaigners who are with us today, fellow parliamentarians who are on the screen, and also members of the media to this launch. And it's great that you've all come. Thank you very much. I want to introduce, first of all, the review team. You will know that our report took 2.5 years to get together, to write, to put forward, to launch. And the review team were absolutely critical. So I'd like to give you the biographies of each, but I'm not going to because we've got to get on a bit. But first of all, Sir Cyril Chandler. Cyril, he's waving. Cyril's got most wonderful backdrop. You think he might be going to launch into swimming the Thames any moment, but it's great. It's lovely to have you. Thank you, Cyril, and all you've done. Simon Whale, whose firm is Luther Pendragon, who've put on today and who've been absolutely critical to us in terms of ensuring that our the work that we were doing were made known to others, and he's been superb, as has his team who are with him today, some of them. Dr. Valerie Bruss. Valerie is somebody who has been just sensational, and I have to say, with Sonia MacLeod, Dr. MacLeod, there she is, together they did the really hard lifting on writing the report. And we were so thrilled because it was a readable report. And you never know till people start writing whether it's going to be very clumsy, bureaucratic, or readable. And we've had lots of compliments about how it is accessible and readable, and of course, hugely thorough. So you'll all know that when you're asked to undertake a challenging task, the first thing you do is to get the best team you possibly can. And I can tell you, without exception, we had the very best. But before I get really carried away, I really want to move on to what we're into today. So there are some technical points that I need to put forward as how we're going to run this meeting. For those of you who are present, you don't have your cameras and microphones activated. So at the foot of the screen, your screen, you have a Q&A function enabled. So after I finish speaking, if you'd like to ask a question, please use that function, Q&A function enabled. We're going to get through as many questions as we possibly can in the hour that's available. And I just want to say that I am so delighted that Jeremy Hunt, who, of course, the former Secretary of State who commissioned our review and now chairs the Health and Social Care Select Committee, is a co-chair of this group. But sadly, he can't make this morning because of parliamentary business. Jeremy was asked to set up the review by the then Prime Minister, Theresa May. And I want to say she has been working so hard for us, supporting us, and her support has been absolutely outstanding. And I want to thank her for that. I also want to thank the chairs of the APPGs, on Mesh, Valparate and Primados, Emma Hardy, Kat Smith, who I know is here. Kat, oh, there she is, thank you. And also Yasmin, who we've already had a quick word with. And I really look forward so much to working with those because they are the vice chairs of our group. And of course, we know we're not starting from scratch because they've had their groups and they've been working in their own spheres to ensure that their members are kept informed are supported and that pressure on the government is exerted to bring about the improvements for their patients who have been so badly affected. So we start with a bit of a history in a way, because we know the work that they've been doing. We've also got Lord O'Shaughnessy and Sharon Hodgson, who join as vice chairs, as will Lord Patel and Philip Hunt, Lord Hunt of King's Heath. And I'm very grateful to them for their support. So it's been 5 months since the publication of our report, and 2.5 years in which we in the team heard those harrowing testimonies and received a large volume of evidence concerning these 3 medical interventions: Primados, sodium valproate, and pelvic mesh. Now, I have to say, and people have told me, the report makes very uncomfortable reading. Indeed, it is stark reading, because it reveals how the healthcare system is siloed, disjointed, and defensive. And it reveals that thousands of patients and families have suffered harm that we know was avoidable. And what is so shocking, really, is that the risk still remains. So our report set out 9 major recommendations to bring much needed help and support to those who have suffered as a result of these interventions. And it seeks to reduce the future risk from medicines and medical devices. So I'm very pleased to say that our first recommendation, which was that the government must immediately issue a fulsome apology on behalf of the healthcare system to the families affected by Primados, sodium valproate, and pelvic mesh. And that was delivered by the Secretary of State and ministers immediately after the report was published. And so we thank the Secretary of State and the government for recognising the need to acknowledge these failings and to do so swiftly. But of course, that leaves 8 recommendations out of the 9. Like many of you, over the past 5 years, I've been pressing the government to respond to the report and to those outstanding recommendations, as has the team. Now, I do want to thank the very many parliamentary colleagues from all sides in both houses who have persisted in asking questions and raising the issues in debates. And that has been so important, and we do thank them for that. Now, by good luck, we've been fortunate in that the Medicines and Medical Devices Bill has been going through Parliament in recent months. In the Lords, I and others have tabled a number of questions, amendments, debates to the bill. And we would bring the first do no harm recommendations into effect. That is what we were trying to achieve. Now, I've been overwhelmed by the support from so many peers. And again, I thank them for that. But one of the most important recommendations in our report was that an independent patient safety commissioner should be appointed. The person we want is someone of real standing, who will be the first port of call for patients, who will be their listener and their advocate. He or she would detect safety concerns and encourage or require the healthcare system to act and to hold the system to account for its actions. Now, we are convinced that had there been a patient safety commissioner before now, much of the suffering we have witnessed could have been avoided. So I tabled an amendment to the Medicines and Medical Devices Bill at committee stage that will bring the independent patient safety commissioner into being. Unfortunately, although it was supported by dozens of peers, the government didn't accept my amendment. But since then, my team and I have held a number of very positive discussions with the Lord's Health Minister, Lord Bethell, and his officials. And they have been patient. They have listened. And I'm very pleased to say that the government has now accepted the need for a Patient Safety Commissioner for England and is bringing forward its own amendment to the bill to establish this post. And we are delighted because we know if it is a government amendment, it is much more likely to get through the Commons and be enacted. So we've seen the government's draft amendment, and while there are certain matters in which we do need some reassurance, not least ensuring the Commissioner is truly independent, we're hugely encouraged by it. And again, I want to thank Matt Hancock, Lord Bethell, Joe Churchill, Nadine Dorris, and DHSC officials for working so hard to bring this about. So that is the news, the really good news. But we have received no indication as to the government's thinking about the other 7 recommendations. Recommendations that, while they're really wide-ranging and radical, we know will improve the lives of people who have been harmed and make the system much safer in the future. And that is, after all, why the review was announced, out of a recognition that these 3 interventions caused so much anguish and suffering and ruined the lives of so many. As one woman told us, this device took everything from me: my health, my life, my job, my dignity, my marriage, my freedom. And she went on to say, there are a lot of us suffering. Now, the scale of suffering we witness means that nothing short of profound change is urgently necessary. Not necessary in a couple or 3 years, but now. Those who suffer cannot wait. When every day requires courage and determination to get through the next 24 hours with excruciating pain or extensive worry for their children who have been harmed. The APPG has been created to ensure the government rights the wrongs that we learned about and makes the system safer for the future. Now, the consensus in favour of this need for change is a really remarkable one. And I'd like to thank and take the opportunity to thank patient groups, royal colleges, professional bodies, public institutions, and parliamentarians of all parties and none for their unwavering support and energy in trying to make our recommendations a reality. So while talking about consensus, I do think it's worth just mentioning the support we've received from the Scottish Parliament. The Scottish Government, who have committed to implement all our recommendations that are relevant to them. And as a review team, we met with Jean Freeman in the year, and we were struck by how committed she and the First Minister are to change. And I really do hope the government in London follows in their footsteps. Now, the new APPG will leverage the political weight of its wonderful vice chairs and officers in holding the government to account within the corridors of Westminster. It will provide a vehicle through which patient groups can join forces and keep up to date with this campaign. It is, after all, on the patient's behalf that we undertake this work. So, in a nutshell, our purpose is to raise awareness and build support for the recommendations in First Do No Harm, and to ensure the implementation of those recommendations by the UK government and by others. Now, many of you will have read that we have invited the Minister for Patient Safety, Nadine Dorries, to attend the first public meeting of this group. Now, I hope she accepts our invitation and that the meeting will provide all those who attend a valuable update on the government's thinking. We hope that this meeting will be early in the new year, and we're going to update you as soon as we know more. As for further meetings, those will be decided by the officers of this group, and we will, of course, be consulting patient groups and many others. So it's our intention that this meeting is the first of many. Now, I hope today has served as a reminder that while the review has concluded and published its report, this is not the end of our fight. That should, I think, be pretty clear for those of you who know me and the team, and it's worth just repeating that. But we've still got some way to go, but this group will be fighting every step of the way. And I hope that those who have supported us so much in the past will continue to do so. And I know we have the strong commitment of the other three groups who are, of course, their chairs or our vice chairs will ensure that happens.